Welcome, everyone. My name is Aubrey Waymiller, and I'm a member of the HEAL Data Stewardship Group. I'm especially excited to thank you all for joining us today for our 19th installment in our Fresh Fair webinar series with today's presentation on Dig Deeper with Doug, introducing HEAL Semantic Search. This webinar will feature a presentation introducing how HEAL Semantic Search supports the goals of HEAL researchers and a demonstration of this new search in action, followed by a live Q&A session. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with all registrants. If at any point you have a question, please feel free to type it into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll bring it up during our Q&A session. Next slide, please. Oh, one more slide. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce our presenters today, Suparna Goswami and Gaurav Vaidya. Suparna Goswami is our senior research scientist at RENCI and a co-lead of the Community Data Standards and Knowledge Graph Search Group for the NIH HEAL Data Stewardship Group. Goswami has several years of research experience in the areas of innovation management, user experience research, and quantitative research methods. She also has experience in leading interdisciplinary multi-institutional research projects. In addition to her academic background, Goswami has years of industry experience in the development and implementation of large-scale, multi-organizational information technology systems. She has published in premium journals and conferences in the areas of information systems, management, and computer-human interaction. Our other presenter, Gaurav Vaidya, is our semantic web technologist at RENCI and a software developer on the HEAL Semantic Search. He works on integrating semantic search with other HEAL components, such as the HEAL Data Platform and the HEAL CDE repository, and on improving the named entity recognition technology that identifies biomedical concepts in variable names and descriptions. Outside of HEAL, Vaidya also works on the NCATS Data Translator Project and the FireCat project to make it easier for biomedical researchers to tap into semantics knowledge when searching, aggregating, or analyzing biomedical knowledge. And with that, I'll pass it over to Suparna to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Aubrey, for the introductions. And as Aubrey already introduced, we are very excited to present to you the HEAL Semantic Search, which is a search engine or tool that is being launched today to explore the HEAL research landscape. So today's agenda is I'll talk about HEAL Semantic Search, what it does, how it does it. This will be followed by a live demonstration by my colleague Gaurav. And there is some call to action on how you can help us in maximizing the potential of the HEAL data ecosystem. And this will be followed by a Q&A session. Next slide, please. So the one of the major goals of the HEAL data ecosystem is to enable new discoveries by ensuring that HEAL data can be searched and analyzed. Now next slide, please. This is a particularly challenging endeavor given that there are more than or nearly 1,000 awards at the moment with 700 distinct studies. There are a diverse range of research areas that is being covered by the HEAL Initiative, such as clinical and preclinical studies, basic science research, therapeutics development, and translational research. In addition to it, these studies are covering a wide range of concepts such as biological processes, chemical entities and their roles in addressing pain and OUD, anatomy-related concepts, diseases, and genetic concepts. Next slide, please. So the problem here is how can researchers or anyone who is interested in understanding the HEAL research landscape or getting a better understanding of what pain research is happening or what is the current state of knowledge in OUD, how can they search for and make connections between the different HEAL studies, and how can they find out what might be of interest to them, what might be relevant or related to their own work, and how could they establish potential collaborations, identify new domains for research. And one of the solutions to it is providing a tool that can help researchers in searching across studies without specific or exact keywords, and without actually accessing the data, like without accessing the data that is being generated by the studies, how can people still navigate the HEAL research ecosystem and find out and make meaningful collections? Next slide, please. So in an answer, or in our attempt to address this challenge, we came up with the HEAL Semantic Search Engine. And what is the HEAL Semantic Search Engine? It is a semantic search engine which is powered by Doug. And Doug is an open source semantic search tool developed by the Renaissance Computing Institute, or RENCI, and RTI International. Next slide, please. So we have been saying semantic search and the HEAL Semantic Search Engine. So what do we exactly mean by semantic search? Semantic search essentially denotes search with meaning. And what does that mean? Search results are enhanced by incorporating knowledge about the concepts. And by concepts here, we are referring to different kinds of or different categories of biomedical concepts, such as anatomical features, phenotypes of diseases, phenotypes of search terms, and so on and so forth. So essentially, the search results are enhanced by incorporating knowledge about the concepts that are being searched for, synonyms, and their relationships to each other. For example, our semantic search engine, like when a user search for something like heart rate, they would know that tachycardia is a synonym of heart rate, and bradycardia is also a synonym and might be related to what the user is looking for, and therefore return these results. But these will be covered more in details when my colleague Gaurav shows you the demo of the tool. Next slide, please. So the HEAL Semantic Search tool was developed with the intention of enabling people to search the diverse HEAL research landscape. And our aim or motivation behind developing this tool was to allow people to search for and delve deeper into biomedical concepts by surfacing related concepts. So for example, using the knowledge or understanding the meaning of a search term, it helps people identify what concepts might be related to it, and then going deeper and identifying studies which have in some way referenced or used this concept, and variables that have been used to measure this concept. And it helps in identifying data sets and variables of interest, and therefore opens up opportunities for secondary and meta-analysis, or just identifying possibilities of collaborating, finding other groups who are working in related or similar areas. Next slide, please. So many of you here would be familiar or aware of HEAL Data Platform. This is the place where you go and, like, after your research has been funded by the HEAL Initiative, you have to go and register at the HEAL platform and enter all your study-related information to it. So one question that might come up is, like, the platform is one tool, or platform provides a search tool, and HEAL Semantic Search is another tool. So how would users be using these two tools? So the way we envision it at the HEAL research ecosystem is like the HEAL platform search and the HEAL Semantic Search. These are two complementary tools. They complement each other. So people could start at the HEAL Semantic Search, discover connections between biomedical concepts, explore synonyms and related terms, and from there, identify HEAL studies, variables, and CDEs, or common data elements, which are related to their search, and then move on to platform. So HEAL Semantic Search allows people to move to platform to explore the studies and variables of interest, identified which are the organizations or institutions that are conducting this research, who are the PIs or the people involved in this research, and so on and so forth. And similarly, people could also start at HEAL platform search, discover HEAL-funded projects and project-related information such as keywords, study description, PIs, the nature of the studies, like whether it's a clinical study, whether it's a translational research, discover data sets, and then use those to actually identify keywords, and then move on to HEAL Semantic Search to get a further understanding of the research landscape, or also the connections between these concepts or keywords. Next slide, please. So with this, this is almost towards the end of my presentation. So what we'll do next is I'll hand over the baton to my colleague Gaurav, who will show you a demo and how HEAL Semantic Search allows people to find related studies. So for example, the example that we came up with, and again, like we will share the link of the tool with you after towards the end of this presentation and the webinar, and we urge you to go and play with the tool, do some searches and share your feedback with it. But first, we will show you how to use the tool, and Gaurav will do this presentation. He will start with a search term, and then using this search term, he will show how one could identify related research in the area of opioid use disorder. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you very much. And over to Gaurav for the demo.
Thank you so much, Suparna. Again, there we go. So the way in which you would access HEAL Semantic Search is by going to the HEAL Data Fair website, which is the website used by the HEAL Data Stewards, which you'll now notice has a nice semantic search button right in the top of the screen. If you click on that button, you'll find our new page that describes NIH HEAL Semantic Search and gives you some information about the tool and provides some context as to why we think this tool is important. The big thing you'll see, the big way to dive into this tool is by using it as a search engine. It's by searching for concepts, studies, or variables that are of interest to you. For instance, if I search for alcohol and then click on search, you'll be taken to the HEAL Semantic Search tool with the search for alcohol. And the first thing you'll notice is that rather than giving you a list of immediately giving you a list of studies or a list of variables that are related to alcohol, what we actually return is a list of concepts. And this is a pretty broad list of concepts that are related in one way or another to your search term, which is alcohol. You can see the most relevant results are up at the top of the search result. So for instance, we start with alcohol dependence as a disease, alcohol as a chemical entity, ethanol as a small molecule, alcohol withdrawal delirium as a disease, and so on. If I scroll down, you can see that the further down we get, the more the results, the further away the results get from alcohol. We're seeing more and more related results rather than results that are directly to do with alcohol. For instance, if I go a little bit further, you'll see that we have cholesterol coming up as a result because it is an alcohol, although that's probably not the first thing you think of when you think of a search for alcohol. We expect that most HEAL Semantic Search users will focus primarily on these best results, on these top few results. The other thing you'll notice is that these results, each of these concept boxes, tell you something about, tell you what type of entity they are talking about. So alcohol dependence is marked as a disease, alcohol is marked as a chemical entity. And if you're interested in a particular type of concept, for instance, if we were only interested in small molecules, you can use the filter tool to filter just to the small molecules that we've returned. We do have plans for making the filter tool more sophisticated in the future, hopefully with feedback on what type of filtering would be most useful to your applications. If we open, even within these small boxes, we can kind of quickly see what studies are related to ethanol as a small molecule, and we can look at the CDEs that are related to ethanol as a small molecule. But if we're particularly interested in this concept, the best way to dig into that is by opening up the concept box, by clicking on this button here. And that opens up a small modal box that tells you more about ethanol as a molecule. Now, each of these concepts that you see in HEAL Semantic Search come to us from a knowledge source, such as an online database or an ontology or some other source that we trust that tells us about types of biological entities. For each of them, you can go see where we got this information from. And for ethanol, we got it from the PubChem database. And there's a link here where you can go to the PubChem database and see what it knows about ethanol. At the moment, the information that we primarily pull from those databases is a description of what ethanol is in this case. But if there's, in the future, we might be interested in pulling other information in as well. You can also see, as Suparna alluded to earlier, all of the studies we know about that have some reference or that collect some information to do with ethanol as a small molecule. So for instance, so in this case, we've broken them down into 3 groups, into HEAL research programs like Backpack, into individual HEAL studies, and into non-HEAL studies, along with pulling information from the HEAL data platform on HEAL research programs and HEAL studies. We also pull in information from other public databases, such as the NCBI's dbGaP database of genotypes and phenotypes, in order to provide you with other studies that might be related to the concepts that you're interested in. These buttons at the top function as filters, so we can turn off all of the non-HEAL studies if we want to focus on just the HEAL studies that are relevant to, that are related to the concept of ethanol. We can then open up any of these studies. So for instance, I can open up this study here and look at the individual 18 variables that this study collects related to alcohol. And these are questions to do with when were you last getting alcohol or other drugs? When did you, during the past XX days, how many days have you lived with people who are using alcohol, and other such questions. In addition to sort of looking through all of these large lists, we also provide a filtering tool up here. So if I was only interested in alcohol withdrawal, for instance, I can search for withdraw, and it'll highlight, it'll kind of search within this list of variables and show me just the variables that have the word, well, that have the letters withdraw in it. And that helps you kind of focus your search down a little bit. All of these studies you'll see have links to the HEAL data platform, and you can click on this link to go to the HEAL data platform's record for this particular study, which pulls up the study description information, project number, PI information. And once the study has data sets that has been deposited into repositories that the HEAL data platform knows about, these will become available as data sets or as with links to those repositories so that you can access this data directly. Going back to our search, in addition to studies, we also index the HEAL CDEs from the HEAL, scroll this down a bit, from the HEAL CDE shared box folder. And this is a list of CDEs in that shared box folder. For each of these CDEs, we currently give you the path of where you can find the CDE within that shared box folder. But something that we are working on right now is to replace these links with links that take you directly to the new HEAL CDE repository. And that will directly give you download links for these CDEs rather than having to go through the shared box folder. In addition to providing you with a list of CDEs that reference ethanol in one way or another, you can also see other related concepts that we found for a particular CDE. For instance, the TAP CDE has questions about anxiety, alcohol dependence, ADHD, alcohol abuse, pain, and sleep. All of these concepts are available as navigation tools. So if we wanted to dig into alcohol dependence, we could click on that concept and then hit open to open up the alcohol dependence concept box. And from here, you can go and look at studies that are related to alcohol dependence, for instance. Let's go back to ethanol. In addition to the studies and CDEs, we also expose information from the knowledge graph that underlies DUG. All of these concepts that we have don't just exist in isolation, but have connections between each other. These are connections that we get from the individual knowledge sources, as well as from the Robocop knowledge graph, which was developed at RENCI, which is our primary underlying knowledge graph for this connection information. In the knowledge graphs tab, we show you other concepts that are related to ethanol. For instance, ethanol has an adverse event of alcohol abuse. Ethanol contributes to alcohol-induced disorders. Ethanol contributes to fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. For some of these edges, you can see that we have citations available that shows you information about this connection. which if you click on them are links into PubMed that take you to individual journal articles that tell you something about this connection. Finally, you might be wondering why a particular concept came up in your search at all. And for to find out about that, you can look up the explanation tab, which explains why am I seeing this result. And we can see that even though the word alcohol doesn't appear in the name of this concept, it does appear in one or more of the synonymous names, as well as the description, which we saw earlier, a primary alcohol, as well as in related terms, which are terms that are connected to ethanol through that through in the knowledge graph, which are visible in the knowledge graph tab that I just showed you. Okay, so this is HEAL Semantic Search's concept-based search results. But in some cases, you're just interested in finding individual variables that are related to alcohol. In that case, we also have a variable search where you can change the search type to go search for variables within alcohol. When you do this, you can scroll down and have a look at the very long list of many variables that we found that are related to alcohol. Remember that as with the concept search, in variable search, we're also using synonymy information using related concepts. So we're really expanding your search as much as possible. To help you filter down to just the most relevant results here, we've provided a histogram that gives you a distribution of the search scores for all of these variables. You can hover over parts of the histogram to see what a high scoring result looks like. In this case, it's a question, it's a variable that collects information on how troubled or bothered have you been in the past 30 days by these alcohol problems. As well as you can see what a mid-range result looks like. Have you ever consumed alcohol? Or sorry, do you drink white wine at least once a week? As well as questions that are much further away. And the blue strip just below the histogram allows you to filter out the low scoring questions. So in this case, we can say that roughly these higher scoring questions are the ones we're interested in, and the lower scoring ones are then just removed from this search that we have at the bottom here. And I just want to open up one of these studies and show you that we are in fact using synonym information or synonym and related concept information, where we're finding variables called alcohol that have the word alcohol in their descriptions, but we're also finding variables that have the word cholesterol, because the cholesterol is a type of alcohol. And yeah, and that's the, you can see that the results we're getting back include non-HEAL studies, HEAL research programs, as well as CDEs. That's the main functionality of HEAL Semantic Search that I wanted to show you all today. But just before I end my demo, I wanted to let you know there's also a support tab available up here, which allows you to access our help portal to submit any questions you have, any feedback you have, or to ask us any follow-up questions about how HEAL Semantic Search works. And we also have some documentation items that you can look through if there are particular questions here that you'd like that you need additional help with, or if you get stuck somewhere. Of course, if you get really stuck, please do not hesitate to contact us. That is my demo. Thank you so much for your attention, and I will pass the presentation back to Suparna now.
Thank you so much for the demo, Gaurav. And yeah. So again, thanks for joining today's webinar and allowing us to present and launch the HEAL Semantic Search engine. So we request you to add HEAL Semantic Search to your research discovery toolkit. What it would allow you to do is discover connections between biomedical concepts, as you have just seen, identify HEAL studies, variables, and CDEs related to your research, further explore these studies and variables of interest by going to the HEAL platform from there. So for each HEAL study that is identified for a concept or for your search term, there is a link that will take you to the study entry on platform, and there you can go and look up the study and see more details about that study on platform. So these are the 3 ways which we feel that HEAL Semantic Search can enrich your research toolkit. Next slide, please. Yeah, and with that, we have some requests from you. Help us maximize the potential of the NIH HEAL Initiative by sharing your data dictionaries. So what is the data? What is a data dictionary? It is information about your study variables. It is also referred to as variable level metadata within the HEAL research landscape that connects your research to the larger HEAL data ecosystem and opens up new avenues for exploration. So please share the dictionary of your variables used in your study. And even if your study is not complete, you are at the planning stage and you feel that your data dictionary is not yet ready for sharing, we would be happy to receive data dictionaries in whatever form or format that you currently have ready and available to share. And also, I would like to, kind of reiterate that a data dictionary doesn't contain any personally identifiable information or any PHI. It is essentially just a description of the variables that you are measuring as part of your study. And please email it to healstewards@renci.org. Next slide, please. So what are we asking you to share? Essentially a description of the variables that are being used in your study. It is a collection of variable names, descriptions, information on how they are measured, such as like what question items, what scales you use, whether you are using a HEAL CD or CRF, and so on and so forth, and the variable type and permissible values. Another question might be, do all studies have data dictionaries? Currently, we envision that studies generating quantitative or structured data, such as clinical studies, surveys, observational studies, they are more likely to use data dictionaries or have shareable data dictionaries to describe their variables. But in future, we'll expand like what kind of data dictionaries could be shared within the HEAL initiative. Next slide, please. Yeah, here we have created a visual aid to understanding what we mean by, the data dictionary or variable level metadata. So within the HEAL context, there are 2 categories of metadata that is expected that the PIs of studies are expected to share. One is the study level metadata. These are essentially study identifiers such as the name of the study, the project number, the research focus area, who's the PI, who's the institution, and the year it was awarded, the granting, administering IC, and so on. And then each study would have 1 or more variable level metadata or data dictionaries. And these are essentially the descriptions of the variables that are measured as part of their study. And in order to measure some of these variables, your study might be using the HEAL core CDs and HEAL supplemental CDs, and in particular, like clinical research studies or surveys or observational studies, they are required to use like some of the core CDEs, NIH core CDEs in the pain domain. So these are like, what the information that we are asking the study PIs to share with us so that these can be then ingested into the HEAL Semantic Search. And if you have any questions regarding what it means to share your data dictionary, please feel free to drop it in the Q&A. Next slide, please. Yeah, and further to that, we have some other requests from you. One is please explore the HEAL Semantic Search and share your feedback with us. So you can visit healdatafair.org/resources/semantic search and use the system. And like there is a support page, which Gaurav already showed. You can kind of share your feedback, report any bug. This is still a tool which is very much in development. And as we go on improving and developing the tool, we would be happy to receive any sorts of feedback, suggestions, reports from you that will help us in improving the HEAL Semantic Search engine. Also, we would like to we are doing some user testing sessions. In fact, we have our first user testing session already scheduled for today afternoon, but we also want more users to volunteer to use our system and do some testing sessions with us. These are 1 hour moderated Zoom session. So it's just a 1 hour time commitment from your side, but it would help us immensely to understand the user's perspective and how the user views the tool and what they feel should be there, or what's right, what's good, what's not so intuitive. So please help us by signing up for a user testing session. Again, at healstewards@renci.org. Yeah, with that, I think next slide, please. And again, Gaurav showed you the link to the support page. I mean, you can click there, and this is what you will find. Like, you can report a bug, you can request some technical support, suggest improvements, and any other questions or suggestions that you have for us. Next slide, please. Yeah, with that, I hand it back to my colleague Aubrey for the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the presentation and demo, Suparna and Gaurav. We'll now invite our additional panelists, Lizelle May-Foss, Hannah Hawkins, and Robert Hubble, to the webinar. If everyone will please turn on their cameras, we will now stop screen sharing to begin the Q&A session. And I'm really excited for this session. I've seen some awesome questions already pop up in the chat, so thank you for submitting those. All right, and our first question is, what ontologies and controlled vocabularies are underlying DUG? What does the tool use at the back end to identify the concepts? Is it something like UMLS, or does it use a natural language model?
I can start off by answering this question, but please, other panelists, feel free to jump in if there's anything I miss out on. So there's a number of ontologies and controlled vocabularies that we use. We primarily get those from the Robocop knowledge graph. This includes ontologies like the human phenotype ontology, the Uberon anatomy ontology, the Mondo disease ontology, and a bunch of other biomedical ontologies, which Robocop looks into their cross-references and figures out how concepts between those different ontologies relate to each other, and sort of synthesizes a single concept for alcohol, for instance, or ethanol, from across these multiple ontologies and controlled vocabularies. At the moment, we're using the Monarch SciGraph API in order to identify the concepts in the variable names and the variable description information, but we are looking at other named entity recognition tools, including natural language model tools like a BERT tool, in order to look through these texts and identify anything that looks like a biomedical concept, and then figuring out the identifiers that denote those particular concepts. In the future, we are also planning to look into whether large language models could be used to help make those connections between the text that we find associated with a variable in a data dictionary and the concepts that we have in our knowledge graph in the backend. UMLS identifiers are also incorporated into Robocop, but we usually prefer using ontology identifiers if those are available.
Thank you, Gaurav. And I wonder, is there more information in the DUG paper? Would it be useful to post that link?
Yes, there is absolutely more information about that in the DUG paper.
Okay, great.
That
Maybe
describes how that's used.
we can get that link out in the chat. Would be wonderful. Awesome. So our next question is, will semantic search incorporate the ability to search for or use CDISC IDs? And again, opening the floor.
Yes.
Go ahead, Gaurav. Sorry,
I was just going to say yes. We do plan to incorporate those. Every HEAL CDE has from the HEAL CDE in the HEAL CDE repository, each individual CDE variable is associated. I think all of them, but many of them certainly are associated with CDISC identifiers. So we do want to include that in our search in the near future.
Awesome. Suparna, did you have anything else to add to that?
No, I was about to say the same, that, the HEAL Semantic Search, this is like its first iteration, but we have plans for what we would like to do with it, and some very ambitious plans, but we are also looking, so these questions help us in understanding or gauging what people would like to see from the tool, and we would definitely try to incorporate these, and there is a plan to incorporate CDEX in the future. Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you.
Just as a follow-up, I saw a question asking what CDISC was. And CDISC is a data standard provided by the Clinical Data Interchange Standards Consortium. So it's an acronym for CDISC, and it provides, as far as my understanding of it is that it provides UMLS identifiers for some of these variable, for some of these commonly collected variables. So it's an identifier scheme. In that regard, it's similar to something like LOINC, which also describes certain variables that are being collected, and which is also an identifier scheme that we would like to see incorporated into HEAL Semantic Search in the future.
Great. Thank you. Our next question is, can this dictionary be used if only researching but not yet awarded or applied for a study?
Yeah, Aubrey, I can take this question. So, I mean, if someone is planning to apply for an award and they already have like a research plan and have created a potential data dictionary, like a list of variables that they will be using when they actually go about to collect the data. So that's the data dictionary. But at the moment, we are actually, just accepting data dictionaries from HEAL funded or awarded research, because that also allows us to link it back to the award on platforms. So just accepting a data dictionary for a planned study which has not yet been awarded, I mean, right now we haven't really considered incorporating that into HEAL. Having said that, we are not limiting what data is being ingested or inputted into HEAL just to HEAL awards, HEAL funded research. We are also looking at other standard, well recognized repositories such as the dbGaP to ingest information or ingest studies that have already been conducted for related HEAL related domains such as in pain or dependence research and so on. But if something is in planning, that would be slightly more or tricky to handle. And currently we don't have plans for accepting data dictionaries which are not yet awarded. Yeah, thank you.
Another way to interpret that question might be that we're very interested in how anybody uses these tools, such as this HEAL Semantic Search. So please let us know if the semantic search has been beneficial in any way to you through the support, because that'll help us in advancing the tool.
Great. And I actually see a clarification. I was going to jump in at the end because I interpreted the question an even different way, which is what can you use the search tool even if you're not a HEAL awardee? And yes, the answer is absolutely. This is an open tool for anyone. You don't need to be a HEAL awardee or a researcher. You don't need data access, and that's really kind of the wonderful part about this tool is anyone can just jump right in like a regular search engine. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you. All right, our next question is HEAL Semantic Search primarily pulling from data dictionary information submitted for studies? If a study has not submitted a data dictionary, can it not be found in semantic search? And this is an excellent question. Who wants to take a first stab at this?
I can take a stab, and then anyone, Rob, Gaurav, Lizelle, please feel free to jump in. And so, yeah, this is indeed an excellent question. So at the moment, we are primarily going by data dictionaries, but I think some of the plans that Gaurav mentioned that in future we would also like go through the study description or the abstract of the study and parse through it, index the information, the keywords, and that will be incorporated into the data or that into the information that is ingested by HEAL Semantic Search. And when that happens, that's in the plan, and we are hoping that we'll be able to launch updated version of HEAL Semantic Search early next year. And when that happens, then it is not just data dictionary information, but it is like the general study information will be used to actually identify studies. And others in the Q&A team, please feel free to add to it.
And that was well said, Suparna. We are looking, a group of us, Suparna, Lizelle, and others, are looking for ways to extract other information from papers that are out there, from other data that are published across HEAL that we can ingest. But the data dictionaries certainly are helpful in being able to take in and bring into Doug right away.
Excellent, thank you. And thank you to all of our attendees for these really wonderful questions. So our next question is, when should I use HEAL Semantic Search versus the HEAL platform? And I'm going to direct this over to Suparna to start us off.
Yeah, thank you, Aubrey. Yeah, this is an excellent question. As we showed, the HEAL research ecosystem offers lots of research tools into the researcher's toolkit, and one of them is the platform search, and then we have the HEAL Semantic Search, and these two are complementary search tools. So the way we envision is people can either start at HEAL Semantic Search and look for biomedical concepts. Maybe you are still at the planning stage, and as Aubrey clarified before, the HEAL Semantic Search, although it's called HEAL Semantic Search, it's essentially open to anyone who wants to find biomedical concepts, connections between concepts, existing research that is already there. And from there, they can go further or deeper into the HEAL data ecosystem by looking up studies in platform, who are the PIs, when was this research funded, and so on and so forth. So we envision that people could start at the HEAL Semantic Search, find related concepts, and then dig deeper into it, and then go to platform from there. Also, if the other way around is, if you already want, yours is a HEAL funded research, or you want to know what kind of studies have been awarded or funded by the HEAL Initiative, you can just go to platform and search, give a search term of interest, like a keyword, and it will show you immediately all studies that have that keyword, who are the PIs for the studies, which institutions are these awards located in, the description of the study. So, and from there, you might find related keywords, or you might find something of interest, and you could link back to the HEAL Semantic Search. So we really feel that these two tools would work well hand in hand to allow the researcher to navigate and explore the HEAL research landscape better, and kind of find potentials for collaboration and really in unlocking the full potential of the HEAL ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Suparna. Our next question is, how can I contribute information about my study to HEAL Semantic Search? Are there any legal restrictions on what I can submit? And I'll turn this over to Lizelle.
Thanks, Aubrey. So at the current state of the HEAL Semantic Search engine, in order to contribute information about your study, you'll need to submit a data dictionary, also known as variable level metadata. And variable level metadata, or a data dictionary, is essentially a document that provides detailed insights into the variables that your study collects. And Gaurav highlighted during the demo that we leverage a tool called RoboCop to generate the knowledge graph connecting these concepts. And that is why variable level metadata is essential. And so it's important to note that data dictionaries don't hold the actual data sets from your study, so they shouldn't contain identifiable information. However, for studies bound by confidentiality agreements or other contractual obligations, or those undergoing patent processes like SBIRs or SBIR grants, sharing variable level metadata could pose challenges to these agreements. And so if you have any additional questions, or if you'd like to reach out to the HEAL Stewards so we can connect you with experts from various fields, you can contact us by emailing healstewards@renci.org, which I believe has already been placed in chat, and you can also send your data dictionaries to that email address.
Excellent, thank you, Liesel. And I saw a question come up in the chat, how can you submit your data dictionary? And so that's what Liesel just said, please email it to the HEAL Stewards email address. I see we have another follow-up question, which is, can you share any resources regarding creating a data dictionary, such as variable level metadata schemas?
Yes, so if you're looking for specific templates or schemas for reporting your variable level metadata, there's the HEAL GitHub metadata schema page, and we will put the link on the chat. This page is an invaluable resource which provides comprehensive templates to guide your documentation process. And in addition, for more insights regarding harmonizing your data collection and examples of standardized variable level metadata formatting, I also recommend visiting the HEAL Common Data Elements, or CDEs page, which we will also link on the chat, as this page details the HEAL Initiative's efforts in data harmonization. And on that page, you can also find examples of various ways that we have templates for variable level metadata formatting.
Great, thank you for all of those resources, Liesel. Our next question is a more technical question. This person wants to know, why does HEAL Semantic Search return results in the order that it does?
I can take a first stab at that question. So the order of the results, the order of the concept results, I guess concept and the variable results, are both our attempts to try and find the concepts and the variables that most closely match what you search for. So we prioritize concepts that have the same name as the search term, concepts that have synonyms that are identical to the search term, concepts that have the search term in their descriptions. And then finally, is sort of the lowest part of those search results, we have concepts that are related to concepts that are connected to your search. So for instance, one example that you'll see in a bunch of searches is that you might see diseases that are related to the term that you search for. And then you might see drugs that are related, that are known to help treat or that have been used with that disease. So it's our goal with HEAL Semantic Search is to try and expand your search as much as possible, while still having the results that we think are most relevant to your search results go to the top of the list, so that those are the first ones that you look at. And you don't, like with Google, we don't expect people to scroll all the way to the bottom of the list or to go to page 2. But those results are there if you want a broader picture of biomedical concepts that are related to the concept that you're searching for.
Awesome, thank you. We have another question. Are there any open source initiatives or partnerships where external developers can contribute to improving HEAL Semantic Search's handling of diverse data sources?
I can take a first stab at this one as well. Every part of DUG is open source, from the named entity recognition technology that we use to the data dictionary ingest and transformation code, including some variable level metadata transformation code that the platform has written and has also made available under open source licenses, to the DUG front end. So every piece of that is open source. It's all available on GitHub, and we would love for you to go and have a look at that. As with many open source projects, we're sort of documenting it as we go. So if you're interested in setting up your own HEAL Semantic Search instance, or are interested in using parts of our technology, we would strongly encourage you to get in touch with us, and we can work with you on figuring out the best way of making that happen. But as a big believer in open source technology, all of these technology pieces are open source and available for people to play around with, to steal ideas from, and to use it under the terms of the open source licenses that we've made them available with.
Awesome, thank you. Gaurav. I have a related question. What strategies do HEAL Semantic Search's developers employ to tackle variability and inconsistency in heterogeneous data sources?
Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, so let's think about those in two different ways. So in terms of variability, something that the HEAL data platform has been particularly interested in is figuring out how to and that we're working with them on, is figuring out how to standardize variable level metadata and to ensure that however an individual study is tracking their variable level metadata, we can convert it into a standardized format and then make it easy to combine that with data from other studies and incorporate it into tools like HEAL Semantic Search or other tools that might want to leverage this variable level metadata in the future. Part of doing that is creating validation tools that allow us to look at the data dictionary and say, hang on, you're missing a description here, or we recommend that you have a title for this variable, and provide information like that. The heterogeneousness of the data, as Suparna alluded to earlier, is something that is a particularly big challenge within HEAL, given the very many different types of data that are being incorporated in. For this initial release, we were focusing very much on data dictionaries and on variable level data, where for each variable, you could have a title, you could have a description, you could have some sort of human readable text that tells you about what the variable is, how it's being collected, what concepts it's related to. And then those are the concepts that we can link to our knowledge graph and kind of give you a concept-based view into. In the future, we are very interested in pulling in other pieces of information, including things like protocol information. If a study has sort of published its method somewhere or has published a paper that talks about what the study did, we would love to have technology that can go in and identify biomedical data directly from sources like that. On the other hand, if your study is using something like REDCap in order to collect your data, REDCap is a tool for creating standardized forms and for making those forms available to subject participants to fill out. The HEAL data platform has developed a bunch of tools for taking data from questionnaire tools like REDCap, from data analysis tools like Starter and a bunch of others, and directly extracting the variable level metadata in a standardized format from those tools. And that will hopefully reduce some of the variability and inconsistency and make sure that the variable level metadata, which we make available and which goes into tools like HEAL Semantic Search, as closely as possible represents the data that each HEAL study is actually collecting.
Great, thank you for that response, Gaurav. We have a similar question in the context of the future. What are the next steps for HEAL Semantic Search development? Hannah, do you have any thoughts or input on this?
I think that, no, it's totally fine. I think that the next steps are really outlined in what both Suparna and Gaurav talked about with our calls to action. Getting more input from all of you is going to be one of the most absolute helpful things in the next stages of our development. There's a few specific features that we are working on, and we're very excited to get to share them with you eventually. But one of the biggest things is going to be just more engagement with our users and our communities to really understand what you're actually wanting from a tool like this. So that was what I would say would be the next steps for our development.
Great, thank you. Having trouble finding my mute button after that. I think we have our last question here. I'm gonna reword it just because it's a little similar to the one just asked. Are there any thoughts on implementing publications related to the concept placed in the search box?
Yes, that is something we're definitely interested in digging into. We've already spent some time, which Rob was talking about earlier. We've already spent some time digging into HEAL-related publications and thinking about ways in which we could incorporate them into a HEAL Semantic Search. or use them to help you find publications that are related to the concepts that we're returning to you. And sort of adding to what Hannah just said, the big question there, I think, is going to be what aspect of that is going to be the most useful for HEAL users. Is it finding any publication that's related to the concepts that we're returning? Is it specifically finding HEAL publications? Is it even more specifically finding sort of protocol information on how a study was conducted or what sort of analysis they did? Or is the thing that would be most useful just a really broad search that says, here's everything we found that was related to ethanol? And once we get to that point, how do we filter that down so that the user doesn't have to go hunting through 100 publications to find what they want, and we can be like, this is the exact publication that's going to be most useful to you.
Awesome. Lots of really exciting stuff planned for the future. Well, that brings us to the end of our Q&A session and of our presentation today. Just want to say thank you again to our presenters, Suparna Goswami and Gaurav Vaidya, as well as our Q&A guests, Lizelle May Foss, Hannah Hawkins, and Robert Hubble. We're really grateful for your time and your insights today. We'd also like to give a big shout out to the studies who have already submitted your data dictionaries to us. This has given us a great jumpstart on making HEAL Semantic Search a valuable tool for investigators, and we're really looking forward to having more data dictionaries submitted to us from others. In addition to our presenters and panelists, we'd like to acknowledge on the next slide our behind-the-scenes team that works so hard to always bring these webinars to production and does such a wonderful job. Thank you all. And one more slide, please. And a last thank you to our audience for your participation in today's webinar and those wonderful Q&A questions. We hope you're leaving with an understanding of HEAL Semantic Search and its importance in the HEAL data ecosystem. In addition to the recording of this webinar, we'll also email everyone who has registered a list of resources. The slide deck will be shared, and a link to our Slack channel and our Connect With Us forum are located in the chat. We really hope that you'll reach out to us and hopefully want to sign up for some user testing or submitting some data dictionaries so we can make HEAL Semantic Search even more powerful. And yeah, so please reach out to the HEAL Stewards for any questions or anything, as we support you on your journey to make your data and your data fair and maximize the value of HEAL data. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar on Thursday, October 19th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which will focus on sharing sensitive data. Thank you again, everyone. We hope you have a wonderful afternoon.